the LibreTime kind of community. And if you are interested in kind of joining us, you're welcome to. We are paying attention to the YouTube chat or chat.libretime.org. There is a discourse post with the link to this meeting in at discourse.libretime.org. And yeah, I guess let's kick things off. So kind of progress reports, what we've been working on. I don't know, do you have anything to add to this one?
No, I've worked on many things, but I don't have any specific topic. I've been working on maybe I've been working on some kind of icecast exporter for Prometheus. There are already some existing, but I want to embed it into the earhorn tool, so we could have some more metrics in there. And that's all. It's not really into the LibreTime ecosystem yet, so I don't know if it really fits to this meeting.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've kind of made a bit more progress on the Docker images, but not much. And the outstanding image, I think, is the liquid soap one.
Yeah.
So once, and then lots and lots of documentation is still missing. So yeah, that's kind of, we're coming along slowly, but not, still got some way to go. And yeah, I'd like to get that up and running because there's a fair bit of stuff there that I think would help development and production workflows, especially in kind of cloud native environments.
Yeah. Have you tried to go the other way around, like to start from liquid soap base image and start embedding our playout system into it?
I haven't even started looking at it yet. That's probably the way I would go, because then at least we can fix the liquid soap version to a specific version, and then kind of build around that, which would be nice. But yeah, that's probably the way I'll go.
Okay. And yeah. But sorry, I mean, I've been away for a week from LibreTime, and we've been working a lot on the release of Alpha 11.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a progress report or any few further works. I don't know.
So yeah, I've done some testing. It looks fine. I've been trying to get a working version of Liquid Soap into the PPA and into the installer before we do the release. But something's changed in Ubuntu and I can't build the same versions of Liquid Soap as I used to be able to for the PPA, which is frustrating. So I haven't been able to kind of work out what exactly is going on there, but there is something in the dependency stack that's preventing me building Liquid Soap on Ubuntu 2004. So yeah, it's a bit problematic there.
Okay, yeah, the entire source code for this build process is on Launchpad, right?
For building Liquid Soap for Ubuntu.
I mean, all the file describing this builds, they are on the Launchpad PPA.
No,
I don't know.
I'm the maintainer of Liquid Soap for Debian, so all our it's under the OCaml team on Salsa. So salsa.debian or OCaml team /Liquid Soap. And there's a branch there called Ubuntu /LibreTime, which is the branch that's targeting the PPA. That gets built, and then the source .changes gets uploaded to the PPA, where the Ubuntu buildies pick it up and build for the PPA to distribute, and is usable from there.
Okay, I thought you were working directly on Launchpad and not using source at all. But okay, thanks for the details.
Yeah, so at the moment, it's just essentially a branch on the Debian package that's I target for the PPA. It also, there's a branch there there was a update that needed to happen and go into 2004 that fixed a RC bug that fix that target for 2004 is in there as well. So all the packaging development happens in that
Okay,
repo,
nice to know. Thanks.
and it uses git build package as the build system. So it's fairly straightforward to kind of just build for any Ubuntu or Debian release. So
Okay.
yeah, if I can't get that fixed in the next day or so, I'd like to maybe just make a note of it as a known issue, and we release Alpha 11 as is.
Okay, that will mean that we strip down the Ubuntu support.
Yeah, so it would mean that we would have people would have to download and install a deb of Liquid Soap versions of a known Liquid Soap version,
Okay.
which may end up having to be the case for 2204 as well. Just before the Ubuntu Freeze, Liquid Soap was removed because one of its build dependencies was removed. The build was fixed, and I uploaded got a fix sponsored and uploaded to Ubuntu, but it seems not to have landed in the new in the 2004 development branch. So I don't know what the state of that is, but it may well be that we don't have Liquid Soap in 2204.
Okay. And I was wondering, I lost my question. Crap. Yeah, I had some issues with the Liquid Soap package from the GitHub release page. It has conflictual dependency on the Liquid Soap package from the main repo. And the naming is not the same like the Liquid Soap package from the GitHub release page as the version page name. And so it doesn't follow some kind of, it's not seamless upgrade if you have any upgrade in the package. Like you cannot replace the original repo package with the one from GitHub without having some breaking changes. You can do it by hand, but when everything is automized, you get the conflict that should be resolved manually.
Fun. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely something that we need to resolve, or drop Ubuntu support, which isn't really feasible. Yeah, I think it's definitely something we'll have to deal with.
But shouldn't we go upstream and ask for the people at Liquid Soap to change the name in their package, or if maybe it doesn't have
what are they
multiple
naming
versions?
their? I need to have a look and see how their packages are being built. It's weird that it's a different name because the one of the developers of Liquid Soap was the original package maintainer for Debian and Ubuntu. So I don't know why they would have changed it or made something different there.
Yeah, the only point I could see this was a fix. It will be useful if you want to install multiple version of Liquid Soap on your system, but I don't know if it's.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's potentially something I could do in Debian is support multiple versions, but I'm not sure whether we want to or not, because upstream doesn't support multiple versions. But yeah, okay, it's something then maybe we need to chat to upstream about and see what's going on there.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so the next point is the question and answer session. So if anyone does have any questions, by all means, feel free. We are watching the YouTube chat and chat.libretime.org. So if anyone has any questions around LibreTime, it's kind of a space to chat for anyone interested.
If we want to, I was wondering whether we should just go back if we don't have any questions. I was wondering whether we should go back to discussing the release of Alpha 11. If the only blocker is the one we just talked about, like the liquid soap problem, and whether we should do some kind of release party like you organized last time, or if we are confident releasing it with just some testing on our side. And
we could do some kind of release party. Maybe we look at doing that next week sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I've been testing it for a while now, and the only thing that wasn't tested on my side was the upgrade path between Alpha 10 to Alpha 11. But that just did it, and I fixed a few bugs I saw. And other than that, I think it's pretty much working. But I didn't do any testing on the Ubuntu side, and I expect people, if they want to upgrade from Buster to Bullseye, they will just have to reinstall, that means backup, install, and restore. So it will be just like moving from an airtime install.
Yeah. Hi, Johnny. Welcome.
Hi. I got such a terrible connection. I rebooted and it's a little better.
No problem. Yeah, we're just talking about the upcoming Alpha 11 release. There is still some testing to be done, but yeah, hopefully we can get that out shortly.
So do we want to target some kind of specific date, or do we try to reach some specific date, and if not, we just reschedule it?
Yeah, so next week for me is a bit weird. So I'm on call for the week, and I'll have one operation one night next week that I won't be available for, but I don't know which night yet.
Okay.
So I should know by Sunday or Monday, but maybe we could potentially target next. I don't know. Maybe we target next Wednesday, and if that's the night that I'm not available, oh well, or we shift it or something.
Okay, I was hoping maybe like at the start of the week. So if we have any, we have the whole week to release some patch. Or I don't know. I would not release before the weekend. That's all. But we can do however you want.
Monday is a public holiday here, so I'm not going to really be around.
Okay, yeah, sure. Just pick the moment you can, and so I mean you're doing the release, so you can choose. Yes.
Cool. Then maybe let's say provisionally, let's say Tuesday,
Okay.
and then if I can't make it, I'll let you know.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Then is there anything else that we need to kind of hash out about Alpha 11?
Maybe just warn the people that it contains a lot of breaking changes,
Yes.
and people need to be really thorough when upgrading, like applying every upgrade step with being really cautious when doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they definitely need to be careful there, and there's a lot of manual stuff that's required. So yeah, we can definitely highlight that. And I think it is fairly clear the steps in the upgrade docs, so that should also help things.
Yeah, I think I don't have any other topics I would like to raise regarding the release of Alpha 11.
Okay. Then there's status on getting total time spent listening through the admin on LibreTime. I think this is a question about if we can get the total listening time from of like people out of the interface. Currently, I don't think you can. I think you would need to do some IceCast digging to get those figures.
It's definitely in the IceCast API.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. There's an access log thing, and it says it'll give you by IP who connected when and when they dropped off. So then you'd have to run a tally, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes
But it's there. I'm not sure what use it is, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, getting more kind of stats on who's listening and how they're listening and how long they're listening, it would be helpful. At the moment,
There are other ways to do it outside of all this, because you could do it through the network. Through the network card, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the network knows who's connected, when connected, which is where IceCast is almost certainly getting it from. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you could actually get it. Probably it's available off the peg in a standard network package. I mean, there must be network packages that said which IP's been connected, how long, who's the top 10 hog of this IP.
Yeah, something like, I think, is it Nagios or even I think Elasticsearch with integrating from.
Yeah, but Wireshark and that kind of thing should be able to do it. I mean, we could basically take something like Wireshark, which is open source, yeah, and basically relabel it. I mean, you know, instead of it, well, just put radio-friendly labels on it. Do you see what I mean? That would probably be enough for most people.
Yeah, that could work.
I mean, you're basically talking about standard network statistics, aren't you? So, do you need a special one? Maybe we just need somebody to say, if you want to find it, this is it. Yeah. This is how we use it in LibreTime. End of. I mean, does it really need to be branded up if these things are there, you know?
Sorry, maybe I didn't totally understand, but like, what does total time spent listening mean? Does it mean the sum of all the listeners' time? Or what does it really mean? Like, we're already digging in some crazy solution to find something I didn't really understand yet. And who asked this question, actually?
I don't know who asked it.
I can tell you why I think people would want it, right? Because let's say you're trying to sell adverts, right? And you could say, we have got, over a week, we have got 10,000 listening hours, yeah? There's 10,000, it's either one person listening to 10,000 hours or 10,000 people listening to 1 hour, yeah? Either way, if you're selling adverts, that's one way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, getting those have those stats ready for clients and advertisers would be helpful.
But I think you could do it through standard stuff. So maybe somebody should take on looking at some standard things and finding the least nasty one. Do you see what I mean? And say, well, what do we use this?
Yeah, well, if someone is interested and someone wants to get involved, they're more than welcome to do so. And we're happy to kind of give pointers as to how LibreTime works, and how to go about doing that development, if they're willing to put the time in to actually kind of work out what the best way to approach it would be.
Well, it's actually fairly simple, I think. If we did on a standard installation, all of the sound connections go through port 8000, right?
Yeah.
So all we've got to do is filter the net traffic stats for 8000, which gets rid of all the Russians knocking on port 80 and all the rest of it, yeah?
Yeah.
I think it could be fairly simple, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't. At that point, then it's not really needed to be in LibreTime, especially for those who, like we use a front end streaming service that kind of we just broadcast to, where they've got an Icecast backend, so we kind of get all those stats from them. So it certainly is possible, but yeah, need someone to decide it's worth it and to set up the process to do it.
Well, if you only want the total hours and you don't want who was listening for how long and you just want the total, you probably can do it from the pre-digested Icecast, can't you? Because Icecast knows how many people are connected at any one time.
And I mean, you could actually get a rough estimate from the number of people at a time, because that's logged actually in the admin dashboard for LibreTime. So you could get a very rough kind of 2 an hour spec from there of total listening time.
Well, the next thing, as soon as you provide a total listening, right? Total listeners.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you, presumably that's total listeners over time. So what you really want to graph, isn't it? With some, we had 8,600 unique listeners, of which the average spent 3.5 hours. Blah. So if you were to advertise, you'd hit, so many hundred of them for 10 quid, yeah? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it could be. It seems quite a lot of work for quite a fringe thing.
That's why I think if someone has the itch to do it and wants to kind of spend that time doing it, they're more than welcome to. But it's not going to be something that I'm going to be focusing on.
This would be quite a nice. I mean, I'm going all the way back to airtime and the days of Santoni and all the rest of it. I mean, we talked at length about, because airtime at the time was bloating because everyone was thinking of things to add and things were getting added and not finished, and the whole thing got into a mess and it all ground to a halt, as we all know. But he was trying to get the stuff out of the core. You with me? And a lot of people were trying to drive it into the core, and I was in favour of hanging things on the outside as like airtime extras, or in our case, LibreTime extras, and even charging for them. You know, I mean, if you got a package that you can make it easier to sell advertising, and it costs 50 quid, it costs 50 quid. Yeah, dreams are reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it complies with the license, then that's fine.
Well, even if it doesn't, does it have to?
Well, I guess it depends on how it's integrated.
But well, if it's just reading the API, I mean,
then it doesn't at all.
But what I don't like with this, I mean, I saw the way that airtime. I saw it from kind of inside because I was writing quite a bit of code at the time for them under the blanket. You know, it just the bloat. This thing will bloat and bloat and bloat, and you've got to keep it out of the core because you never get stable. You know, there's too much in there. You know, get the stuff out of the core. You know, it's simpler. And I mean, I've had to come back and bail out a couple of stations, and I ran a station for 7 years and packed it up when my wife died. But I mean, so I've come back now, and I'm sort of helping people out with stations that are limping because now they can't install it anymore, and it seems almost back to where it was just before airtime collapsed, that nobody can get a standard install running, which, by the way, I managed to do last night.
Yeah, especially on Ubuntu, the liquid stack, the liquid soap stack is a bit of a nightmare at the moment.
But what I found was, now I've been helping out Rock Radio and Eurofolk and all sorts of British stations. When they run out of think, they call me up and I have to get in and sort it out, if you see what I mean. So, I mean, I've tried installing, you know, the Ubuntu plain vanilla, blah 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 blah, followed all the instructions, and it wouldn't start. And if you did get it started, you might get one stream started, and that'd stop after 10 minutes. And then, well, I thought to myself, right, I'm going to follow the instructions to the letter. So I went and I found the instructions, via the link off the README, and I thought, well, look, I'm going to actually do exactly what it says, right? So I did exactly what it says without any shortcuts, and I noticed they'd sneaked cores into the wizard, yeah. And it's got a cause and a drop down, and I hadn't noticed that because
right, yes,
having been away from LibreTime for, well, in any hands-on way for 3 years since I shut down 2 years ago. That wasn't there. And I thought, that's interesting. And I was listening to Lazy Dog, who says he's going to turn up in a minute, who runs Rock Radio, and he said, I don't get this because we're putting localhost everywhere, and it still works. Why? Which kind of made a silly sort of sense. And I thought, well, in cores, what's it got there? So I looked what it actually had in there at the point in the wizard, and all it had was the main domain, right? Of temporary domain in my case, and nothing else. And I thought, well, I know that there's a bit of a problem with loopbacking somewhere in the code, because I've seen stations run from cold from a first startup on just the IP, and as soon as they put the main domain in, it stops. I've seen that, yeah. And I thought, well, I wonder if I put the IP in the cores list, yeah, what would happen? So in the cores list, I put HTTP you know, 192.168.1.1, whatever it was, yeah? The wizard completed. Full of green ticks. Do you want to log in? Yes, please. Look at that. Play a track. Oh, we're streaming. Bang.
Okay, so maybe
That's all I did.
maybe we need to look at defaults.
Hey?
Maybe we need to look at the defaults and try have a better set of, especially for things like cores.
Well, it already puts the domain in, the calling domain, right?
Yeah.
So if you call it from mydomain.com, it puts mydomain.com in that cause list, right? But what all I did was put its IP under it with an HTTP in front of it, right? And if I was doing it, I'd put HTTPS in there as well for both of them because it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
And call that the default. And if that's the problem, that we got some sort of loopback problem, yeah, that maybe there's a bit of code in there somewhere that says connect to my IP, right? And cause blocks it because it doesn't know what that is.
Yeah.
That might explain quite a lot of it. What it doesn't explain is what drops off after 10 minutes still, which is still driving me nuts today. But
yeah, that's.
I'd like to, if somebody else could try a blank install of exactly what I said, do what it says, which I think is load up 30010, yeah? I think it loads that up and tries putting the IP in. And if they can tell me that that works, that seems a very simple thing to change in the setup, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is.
And that would be low-hanging fruit, yeah?
Yeah, and we need to test. In fact, that may be a good starting point to test the upgrade from 10 to 11, kind of those docs too.
Well, it wouldn't hurt to put it in, even untested.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely take a look at that and try and work out what's going on there. Because it's
the other thing that I think is worth doing that I haven't seen, mind you, I've been out of the loop for a while, but is I do a little simple reverse proxy in Apache so that I'm running HTTPS into Icecast, which is actually not running HTTPS.
I did the same.
Yeah. Well, that would be a really good thing to put in shortly because you can have problems where you've got a nice, pretty Joomla or WordPress front end running HTTPS, and you try and embed your player, and it won't play because it's not a secure stream, right?
Yeah. So there are docs under admin manual setup reverse proxy.
Yeah, but it's not in your face unless.
Yeah. So it should be more present now. Now that the docs have kind of been redone, there is under the install step, there's install configuration reverse proxy. So if you could have a look at that and see whether it works for your use case, or whether there's an improvement there that's.
Well, no, I can absolutely do that today because I'm now at the point where basically Lazy Dog's got this server on one provider, which he was using as a cheap VPS source, and they suddenly gave him 30 days notice to get off the server because they're retiring the whole bank, right?
Okay.
Right, so that's why I've been jumped in to help him out because he ran out of think, yeah? So I've been moving it over onto Contabo, which I thoroughly recommend, by the way. Goes like shit off a shovel. And I hit this thing. So I'm about to HTTPS the whole thing, right? So I can test track that with no trouble at all because I've got to do it anyway.
Mm.
I mean, I've got to do it anyway today. So, you know, that I can get on with that, yeah, this afternoon.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, what I think some of these things could do with is, you know, when you've completed and you've got the green, all the little green ticks done, yeah?
Mm.
Is a little pop-up that says next steps, yeah? And
Okay, yeah, to make it a bit clearer what the next kind of, whether you're looking at, would that be kind of next steps as in things to configure, or next steps as in go log in here?
well, it says go log in, but I mean, no, I'm thinking about next steps, yeah? Consider running it secure, linked to the manual, yeah? I don't know, player tips, but basically, you get to that point and you gasp, oh, look, it's all green, and then you log in, and if you're a new user, seeing it for the first time, I mean, you know, we're all hard-blown techies and we understand things, but, I mean, you know, you get some of these girl operators who are not stupid and are very good voice people, and to them it just looks like the flight deck of the Concorde, and they've got absolutely no idea where to go from there.
Yes.
I mean, the documentation's quite good. I'm just talking about really a page of links of you and me, sort of next steps.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot of work. It's just a few links, isn't it? Well, I'm more worried about getting this off topic, but is this it dropping off after 10 minutes problem?
Yeah, so we've had a couple. Joe, do you remember or whether that was fixed after Alpha.10? Because I do remember seeing issues on the tracker about it.
Yeah, Jula put some commits in, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm not sure to follow which problem, because there were plenty of problem with either web streams or track just fading out. So I know there is a lot of people who are complaining about recurring issues that should be fixed with the Alpha 11 release, and I was hoping we could release as soon as possible so we don't have any more complaints about these problems. But I think it will fix a lot of these problems.
Yeah.
What, Alpha 11? It's in there.
Yeah.
Should as far as
I missed that. When did I was having trouble getting on here. What's your time scale on Alpha 11?
Probably Tuesday.
Oh, that's encouraging. Our old server dies on the 30th, so you know that's all right. We could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to get some more testing in this week, and then this weekend, and then do a thing on like a release party on Tuesday and try get it out the door done. There's no real kind of, the only to-do items left are to try get some get Ubuntu 18.04 and 20.04 support working, because there was an issue with LibreTime on those versions, but Ubuntu seems to be, something's gone wrong there, and I can't really work out how or why. So I can't get a working version of Liquid Soak into the LibreTime PPA there anyway. So
hold on, just a second. Why do you say liquid soap?
So in version 141, there's a metadata call that we use to update
or callback in Liquid Soap that we use to then update the server, the LibreTime server, as to what's playing and what the current status of the playout is. And there was a bug in 141 that would cause that to be called almost infinitely and effectively DDoSed the server, causing.
I've seen that in the log.
Yeah, so it wasn't occurring. Then I don't know whether it was something that we changed or something in the layout of how we're calling the Liquid Soap scripts changes. So it doesn't happen in Alpha 10, but it is happening in Master. So the fix that Upstream recommends is upgrading upgrading Liquid Soap. But I'm struggling to get that into the PPA. So potentially another solution would be to try revert those changes and leave the scripts as they were, and hopefully that somehow doesn't cause the bug. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm trying to play around with at the moment, and try get it working. Have some support, some way of supporting 1804 and 2004.
Well, this thing with putting the cause IP in, yeah, it's Liquid Soap that's complaining about that. It can't hear what's coming back from Icecast. I don't know if it's related, but it's a similar area.
Yeah. So is it Liquid Soap's unable to then receive the stream?
Well, I can see stuff going. If I go into the Liquid, if I go into the Icecast logs, I can set, and I turn the debug level up to 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see the requests coming in from Liquid Soap to do things like change the speed, change the mount point. Yep, you can see all that, but you don't see anything coming. Liquid Soap doesn't seem to get an answer back, right? Well,
so it sends.
But hold on, we haven't changed,
and then it doesn't get any response.
I think it does get a response. I think it's definitely can't hear it because Liquid Soap, we've been using that version for 10 years, right? We know it works. We haven't changed that bit. What we have changed is the Liquid Soap end of things. Yeah. So I don't think it's Liquid Soap. I don't think it's Icecast. It's got to be Liquid Soap not listening or blocked. And that's why I basically thought I'd put that cause in. You with me? And then it took off. So I'm wondering, maybe if somebody, I'm not sure I want to on this server because it works now.
If it works, don't touch it.
But I wonder if somebody tried. Well, I might have a spare server. Look, I might have one in Germany. From the get, you with me? With my cause thing in it. Yeah. I just wonder if it, because it's a simple thing to try, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, potentially.
Anyway, sorry, I'm now. I screwed up your agenda for you, Cole. Sorry.
No problem. All good. But yeah, it's definitely some sort of either document, some sort of solution for 1804 and 2004 is definitely needed here before we release on Monday or Tuesday. So I'm going to try spend some time looking at it and see how we can potentially fix it. But yeah, just trying to think what else is on the agenda. There was a question here about LibreTime social media presence, Twitter, Facebook, Fediverse. As far as I know, there's a Twitter account. I don't have access to it, but there is one. LibreTime, I believe. No. People. Oh yeah, LibreTime OSS. I don't know who controls that account, but there's a Twitter account for it. Other than that, there's not really any kind of social media presence. We have the YouTube channel that this is recorded on and broadcast on.
Well, at one point we had a Facebook page and somebody shut it down. Emir?
Yeah.
Because he wanted everything in discourse because he couldn't keep track. In fairness, it might not have been him. Somebody did. You and me that there was conversations going on in parallel and about 5 channels, and
Yes.
he was joining it up. You kind of see the point, but it could be shouted from the rooftops, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's not. But in the old days, everybody didn't want to shout it from the rooftops because you couldn't get a stable install. And I'm afraid to say that 10 years on, I'm in the same place.
Yeah, the problem is we're targeting a lot of legacy stuff that most of our bases are dropping. And there's, a lot of work required and not enough people to do it. But yeah, there's definitely stability issues that we need to address before kind of getting things released.
Well, we always said that what we needed to do was to get to a place where a pretty non-techie 18-year-old, I'm not talking, an intelligent 18-year-old who's not particularly, not particularly savvy, probably more of a DJ, for example, can just run it, and we're still not there. And what we could do with as a flagship product is, here it is, here's your Docker file, bang, or snap, or whatever,
Yeah, so Docker is close to being done. And there's
I looked in the files and it seemed that unless I'm looking in the wrong place, all their stuff seems
there's a draft
online or something.
Draft pull request called add Docker files for applications, where I'm working on that. So the bulk of the actual Docker containers are done. They need testing, but I'm busy working on the liquid soap container at the moment, and then it's all the documentation is still required. That won't be done for in Alpha 11, but I hope to have it done by Alpha 12.
Yeah, but I'm sorry to be an old cynic, but we've heard it all before, and everybody meant it then as well. Do you know what I mean? And we're still here. I mean, I say that in sorrow, not anger.
Yeah, it is frustrating working on a slow-moving, or actually no, it's I find the difficulty is working with so much legacy code and legacy libraries. We're having to spend most of our time just trying to keep things still running on more recent versions of Ubuntu or PHP or insert technology here. That's
everything's kind of there's too much code, and for the amount of time that we have to work on it.
Well, when you see how it was originally done, I mean, before Santoni turned up, who was the guy that did it before him? Always wore a cowboy hat, which is ridiculous because he was German or something. Forgotten. But basically what he did was he got about 5 open source products, yeah?
Mm.
And stuck them together with blue tack, sellotape, glue, chewing gum. And it kind of worked, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's where it started, and you ended up with such a lot of duplication. But because he did it that way, it kind of worked. And then they brought Santoni in and said, right, unify all that lot. And then they wouldn't let him because he was working on he was told to work on airtime full time. And he said, well, I'll need a team. So that they got him a team. And then he had to move to New York, which ticked him off. And then they wouldn't let him do it because Source Fabric were launching their basically WordPress Joomla thing, which I've forgotten what it's called for the moment, code page or something. And they basically made him work on that for almost full time, for 2 years, while simultaneously shouting at him because airtime needed attention, in the end, it all ended in tears, and anyway, he disappeared at a great rate of knots and went on to do much better things. But I mean, it was the whole thing was a mess, and the idea then was to get to a point where it was containered, and you've got a standard product, and you just install it, and it works like a toaster, and you just plug it in. Even if it does less, Yeah, I
mean, well, that still is the goal. Is especially I would like once this is containered, it makes my life a whole lot easier running it. So it's kind of my intention to get it done to use, and eventually, we're talking about reworking the UI, replacing all of the kind of old libraries in the PHP with the new front end running off the API, and that should modularize things to make it a bit easier to. We can remove.
The other engine I use is Open Broadcaster. I don't mean the OBS DJ player. I'm talking about the Open Broadcaster, the Canadian thing. Do you know it?
It rings a bell, yes.
It's done by my friend Mad Robert, whatever his name is. I've forgotten his name for the minute.
Okay, yes, I have. Looking at my browser history, yes, I have looked at it before.
It runs on Tomcat, it's all Java, and instead of liquid soap, it uses not FMPEG. What's the other one?
GStreamer.
GStreamer uses GStreamer instead of liquid soap.
Okay.
And it's open source, by the way.
That's an interesting way of going about things.
Well, they built that. They got one guy to build that, and he built it in about 14 months. One guy. And it does TV as well.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at it. Yes, it does TV, which is quite cool.
Well, Airtime used to be able to do TV. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I forgot which codec it was now. They stripped it out. They used one of the very common streaming codecs of the day, Yeah. I can't remember what it was called now. But I think it outputted like MOV or something. Stream.
Yes.
No, it wasn't MOV because it used MP3 for the sound
Okay, no, I don't know.
and Vobis for the video.
Okay, almost a precursor to WebM.
VP8.
Yeah.
VP8 for the video, but VP8 doesn't have it's a video only codec,
Yeah.
so they used it with MP3. So of course it was fairly easy as they were already supporting Vobis, and they're already supporting MP3 to shuck it through. And what's more, it will go through Icecast, because if you look at what will go through Icecast, you'll find a bunch of video codecs.
There's quite a lot that will go through Icecast. Really nice.
Well, what I wanted to do with it was what I called illustrated, because mine was a sound speech station, right? So we were running speech 24/7, and a lot of them could have benefited from a changeable background in the player. For example, if you got a program on, I don't know, UFOs or saving the world or whatever, you could put a map up of where you're talking about, and you can, a few vases that were dug up in Egypt, whatever, So I wanted to do that. I kind of did it with some success, but I would have thought, a bit like, do you have DAB radio? I mean, digital radio can take a background, can't it? The DAB standard?
Yes. Yeah, I remember incorrectly implementing that, broke a couple cars.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you used it just to put up the track, I could do that now in my player. Why not doing that? Because if you got the album art in airtime, there's no reason why you shouldn't put that in the player, is there?
In fact, it should be. Can't remember whether it is or isn't. But yes, it should be possible. Okay, unfortunately, I need to.
We're wittering. I'm wittering, to be precise. Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining. And next meeting, I don't know whether we want to stick with 1600 or move back to 1900, but we can talk about that in.
What was the idea of this time?
Just as a kind of a catch up and a, what are we working on?
It's far too early for Americans, is my thought.
Yeah, we did have it. It used to be 1900, but no one from America was joining. So Julio and I decided, we're a lot more east, so let's rather put it somewhere that's a bit less in the middle of the night. So we kind of did it, shifted it forward last meeting to kind of see what works. I'll try get some input based on kind of from people before the next meeting, and from that we can decide whether it's keep it earlier or move it later again.
Well, I mean, it's quite easy to get hold of the New Yorkers, but I mean, when you think that the Californians don't get off regular work until basically midnight UK, it's a difficult one. You can normally get the East Coasters from about 7 o'clock onwards, UK time, but.
Yeah, so it is a juggling act, and maybe we need to alternate it or do something like that. But yeah, something definitely we need to play with, and I'll bring it up in probably the chat and discourse so we can kind of work that out. But it will be next month.
Just a thought. Saturday might be better for everybody, because if you did it about tea time Saturday.
Yeah.
live stream.
I'm trying. Yeah, the only issue with Saturday is I try not be on my PC, but an hour's fine. We can definitely chat about it in the on discourse and in the chat. So thanks everyone for joining us, and we shall see you next month.
Yes, cool. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.